On the 12th day of the Iran-Israel-USA conflict, what is happening is Iran has issued a stringent and strict warning saying that now the price of crude oil per barrel will be nearly $200. So Indian people now are in a panic mood. People are thinking of whether this energy crisis is going to hit their households because currently LPG and such shortages are being seen around them in the hotel industry. Not just that, Indian people are also worried about the price issues that will be ongoing, the price rise, the low investment value that is happening where the stock market is currently falling. Plus, their survival is being at stake because of inflationary pressures that may rise in the future, and further job losses may happen because of industry closures. Now, what we are here to understand is that how much is our reliance really on this crude oil which we are going to import from Iran? Plus, what is the overall oil threat that India may be facing because of this current global geopolitical issues that are going on? Third most important thing, what will be the overall impact of this entire crisis that is happening, the energy crisis that is surrounding us, and how are we as individuals going to survive it? So, are there any strategies that you as an individual can take up so that you don't face the issues of this particular energy crisis? First of all, let us take a look at the top 10 countries that are actually exporting their crude oil and the percentages connected to them. So see here, Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter, 15.2%, Russia 9.7%, United States 9.4%, and if you look at Iran, Iran is just 4.5% of the total global value of export of oil. But still, that percentile is substantial. Now let us see the countries from where India imports the crude oil. So first of all, topmost, which the changes have happened recently, the first country which we import from currently is Russia. Russia occupies nearly 37 to 40% of our import of crude oil. Secondly, Iraq is the one who supplies nearly 20 to 24%. Saudi Arabia supplies to us 11 to 15% of the crude oil, and UAE 11%, and USA nearly 4 to 9%. If you look at the overall dynamics of our crude oil imports, Iran directly supplies almost 0% of the crude oil. So directly there is no actual impact of crude oil which will be coming from Iran. Now let's take a look at the LPG situation. So if you look at this particular pie chart, you'll see a huge chunk of the LPG is coming from Qatar. So 62% of our entire LPG imports comes from Qatar. Now what is the harm? Now Qatar is nothing to do with all these, right? Currently, that is what you may feel. But take a look at this particular problem. So the situation is currently dangerous in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what is the Strait of Hormuz, which is like a bottleneck for the purpose of the ships, because ships have to cross this to come to India. So it is between Iran and the Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and all that. So the Strait of Hormuz has to be crossed by Qatar. And 50% of India's crude oil supplies comes through this Strait of Hormuz. Plus 90% of the LPG supplies of India comes through this Strait of Hormuz. So this is becoming the cause of our worry. So challenges that we may face because of this crude oil crisis is basically what experts suggest in this particular sector is that 10%, every 10% of crude oil price rise will impact the GDP. How much? To the extent of 0.25%. So every 10% increase in crude oil supplies will drop the GDP, crush the GDP of India by 0.25%. So current estimates are that the crude oil prices might rise by 20% on an average. So naturally, the India's GDP growth will be crushed by 0.5%. Equally, the current account deficit also will go down. Plus, inflation could rise to 4.5%. Because of the energy crisis, the supply chains are going to face disruption, and at the same time, there is going to be overall price rise. So is India prepared for this particular crisis right now? So what has happened? India has invoked the Essential Commodities Act, which is currently protecting the LPG. As we see around, there is news connected to gas cylinders not being allotted to commercial supplies, but they are deferred for domestic consumption and the hospitals. So India is trying to protect this LPG, whatever crisis, that situation that we have landed it, because of the 62% reliance on Qatar. Second important thing, amidst all this war-like situation, obvious effect will be military actions by the neighbors, not so friendly neighbors, you can say, which is Pakistan and China. So defense and military readiness is of topmost priority and importance for India, which actually India has done by keeping all its military defenses on active mode, keeping the Air Force and the Navy also in action, so that just in case any issues come up from any of this territory, it could be land, air, or water, we are ready for it. Another thing that India has done is somewhat in the terms of diplomatic measures. Now, there are controversial things connected to diplomatic measures, but there are few things which can be on the positive side. One of which is that India has maintained a neutral stand because it cannot take sides. In this situation, if it takes sides, it will be in a big mess. Also, internally, it is taking a zero tolerance towards any kind of militant terrorist type of activity. So it's watchful, on guard, and many people are deployed for this purpose. Also, there is practice of multi alignment with different countries, so not just focusing on one or two countries for supplies, for imports, for deals, trade deals, etc., but it is focusing on multi country dynamics. So these could be the positive sides. Negative sides you always keep hearing in the news. Now another thing is that in spite of everything that India will do, definitely there is going to be a hit on the rupee. So rupee is going to become weaker and weaker day by day, in spite of any measures that India would take because of the global crisis. Plus, what has happened is that because of the loss of trustworthiness in the Indian markets, many FIIs have withdrawn the funds, and you can see the impact on the share markets. In the recent time frames, FIIs outflows have been nearly 3 billion US dollars, which is quite high. Now, RBI in overall terms is expected to be on a hold position currently because it still is not really looking for reducing or increasing any kind of interest rates, any kind of CRR or other ratios revisions are not expected because we are still not sure of how to actually go ahead, because what situation comes up, accordingly RBI will have to redesign the policy changes. Obvious effect, now markets will definitely be watchful even in the near future. So you cannot just jump to conclusions that markets are going to go down or up or whatever. So hold steady and try to understand what the situation will be coming up. This is what we can do at least till March end. Now, what we as individuals can do for the preparedness of this particular situation is basically try and reduce our consumption as much as possible. So LPG should be consumed to the minimal, just as a support to the overall Indian ecosystem of LPG, because that's the way that the overall consumption can come down and we can manage the situation well. Because there are many sectors which are coming in the essential category, like even hospitals require LPGs. So if they don't get it, it will be a big problem. So second important thing for a little longer term, I'm telling you, is save, save, save. Save your money as much as possible, because the overall impact that you will be facing in the upcoming time periods will be really big. So inflationary pressures will rise, consumption, what you are doing right now currently will be like amounts that you may have to pay will be double also in certain time frames. Create financial hedge, very important. Secure your funds, put your funds in securities which can give you a stable cash flow, or keep them in safe deposits, whatever the market situation is. Those who are currently invested in security, shares, mutual funds, don't just jump to conclusion and withdraw the funds or go for SIP stopping, because that is not something which will save you in the long run. You have invested funds, the markets keep going up and down, so just study the cycles, stay steady, stay patient, stay calm, and keep yourself invested unless and until you're in dire need of funds. Don't withdraw. You should also monitor sectoral exposure, so automobiles, then military supplies, then industries which are connected to oil and gas. So will they come up in the price rise? So is it a good strategy to invest right now and wait for the price rise that will be coming up in the near future? Solar energy, alternative energy industries can actually be watched by you for the purpose of investment. So that's up to you and your financial advisors to connect on the sectors which can be most beneficial in your case. So hope you have understood the challenges that India currently is facing in the crude oil. In simple terms, I've tried to explain what the crisis is basically and how India is actually dealing with it and what we need to do on our side. And ahead too, I will be posting on Commerce Gyan India topics which are connected to the overall Indian economy situations, legal things which you need to keep in mind. Plus, you also can get interesting things about business, news, things to remember while doing business, and so on. So stay tuned to Commerce Gyan, stay subscribed, and also share the videos as much as possible to the people who may find it useful. So hope to see you in the next video of Commerce Gyan. Thank you.